Honourable Dr. Arvin Boolell, Minister of Agro-Industry, Food Security, Blue Economy and Fisheries. Welcome to the podcast and thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for making time to entertain somebody like me, who's at the beck and call of the great public. You have to respond to the needs and try to do a level best, okay, to be faithful in relation to what is asked of us to do.
I really appreciate it, and it's a great privilege to be speaking to you today.
Pleasure shared. Yes. Yeah.
Your father was the late Sir Satkan Boolell, and he obviously served in the past in different ministerial posts. He was once Deputy Prime Minister. We can get into whether politics was inherently your calling or not. We'll get into that for other conversation. But before that, I came across a very almost endearing article where your brother, Satyajit Boolell, wrote about you. And he said you were somewhat of a miracle baby. I would love to hear about your childhood. I read about your birth being celebrated with a huge, huge celebration. Can you recall your childhood, your good memories? What was the family dynamics like?
I feel very emotional, and this is a question which brings a lot of memories, and I have to walk down memory lane to tell you things which I've shared with others, but I will tell you more than I've said to others. I had one brother and a sister, right? Older than I was, okay? And who passed away, okay? And it was death on delivery, okay? And at the time, delivery was done at home by what we call les sages-femmes, okay? Usually well-trained nurses who had the good acumen, okay, to deliver babies. But technology was not available. Ultrasound, okay, new echoes were not available, and it was difficult sometimes to assess whether the delivery would be smooth, easy, because you didn't know where the baby really lies or whether, it would go through the passage and delivery would be smooth. And we lost, my parents, they lost 3 children. And when I was born, I was the miraculous baby, right? And not only like any birth, it's joy, happiness, great celebration, but with some trepidation as to whether the child will grow as should be, okay? And you should recall that in those days, infectious disorders the incidence of infectious disorders, okay, was very high.
Right.
And you didn't have a post-op delivery and good follow-up. But then the family was an extended family. And the support came from the extended family.
Right.
It certainly had its merits, sometimes its demerits, but the merits far, far outweigh any demerits. And the joy of being brought up, right, in an extended family. Now, my father, right, studied overseas, okay, and went to UK, okay, after marriage to pursue his professional studies.
Right.
He went to the LSE. Of course, 1953, my father came back, and there I was, okay, the baby who was brought up on the milk of human kindness till I was 7 years.
That's beautiful.
Age, okay? And to a large extent, I was sheltered, right, for reasons which you've highlighted. And, my father was a politician, spent a lawyer, and his studies were largely financed by his brother. And so he had to work hard and also help the family. Okay? And these values were nurtured, inculcated, and the transmission was always there. Okay? Now, when I was brought up, okay, I sometimes miss my father a lot because he came late at the time when we were in bed. The only great time we had was during the cyclone because he was at home most of the time. Okay, and we all clustered, together, shared the same bed, and huddled, with the parents because of the closeness.
Right.
Now, when I attended primary school, though, we used to go on foot and to be at par with my friends because poverty was a big issue. I didn't wear sandals or shoes just to be at par with many of our friends who couldn't afford to wear shoes. And the great moment of joy was on Empire Day when we had the cake and lemonade.
Right.
And it was a great event. We all had to dress up. And I remember, some of not quite a sizable number, right? If our friends came to school bare feet. And we were given, we were provided with a cup of milk during daytime, and that milk was donated to government through a program supplied by the FAO and World Food Program. So these were the days. This is the kind of environment that I was brought up, right? And the big joy was going by car to visit the families. My aunties who lived in Cattermole and Cupid. It was a treat.
Nice.
And then being taken to see a movie, right? Oh, amazing! And we'd be prepared for the big event. Almost,
it was a proper family day out.
And had to dress up for the occasion almost an hour, 2 hours before before we would go to the movie theater. So you can imagine, this was the environment, beautiful, difficult, but with a great value addition from the extended family. And the joy of family values. This joy was shared. And good neighborhood watch, good neighborly support, right? This was how we were brought up. And this support transcends barriers, And we use over the, as we say, over the wall, shared the food that each has prepared. Right. So this was the kind of environment. But I had an uncle, my father's elder brother, the one who worked hard to support my father when he studied overseas. He was the one who saw to it that we had to invest in education. Education was the powerhouse for empowerment, right? And it enabled you to take the rung of the ladder. And at that time, we all used to glue our ears to the radio because the results were announced on the radio.
Yes.
The junior scholarship. And much to the sadness of my family, I didn't win the junior scholarship. So I had to attend a private secondary school. And I was the only one in the, I was the one, right? one member of the family. I was, yes, I think I was the one who did not attend what we call a public secondary school.
You went to St. Mary's, right?
I went to St. Mary's. My brother won the junior scholarship. My sister did. All the other cousins. If they didn't win the junior scholarship, they won the scholarship awarded by the municipalities, by the town council, etc. And at the time, I attended secondary school, and that was just shortly prior to independence. And the gap, le clivage, comme on dit, was wide. And it was sad that emotional feelings run pitch high, and they were embedded into what I would call communal overtone. But afterwards, after independence, there was a healing process. And largely brought by attitudes which were shifted to reconcile what appeared to be irreconcilable. I had seen people refusing to stand up when the national anthem was being played.
Yeah, I've heard anecdotes of that.
But Dr. Sessu Sagaramuna was a great man. My father was, then Minister of Agriculture at the time, And there was a maverick team, willing to make things happen. But in the name of national spirit and in the name of reconciliation of social and economic factors, of bringing a nation together, right? There was a coalition government, The objective was to heal, to assuage, and to mitigate. And you must recall, the author, the Trinidad and Tobago well-known author who won Nobel Prize for Literature, Mr. V.S. Naipaul, came to Mauritius. I think shortly before independence. And he described Mauritius as an overcrowded barracoon. And the biggest achievement of Mauritians was allegedly to write to the Queen, to travel to UK, and to be enrolled in hospitals or school of nursing pegged to hospital attached. That was the big achievement. But that achievement has enabled many Mauritians afterwards to invest in nursing home, right? To make savings and to go to universities,
right?
Okay, and slowly but surely, many of them came back, and they all made their contributions
to the country,
in the political arena, in the social and economic arena fields. So there was a building up process, right? These were challenging times. Monumental changes were happening, okay? And there were debates hailed from the rank and file, okay? And we're all contributing, to an ongoing debate on the relevance and importance of independence, okay? Whether independence has been partly hijacked by the British over territorial integrity. The meaning of non-aligned movement. How non-aligned could a small country like Mauritius be, right? And whether we'd use proceeds of sugar to invest in other emerging sectors. The tourism sector, right, became the pearl of our economy, right? And how the proceeds from sale of sugar were used to empower the planters, the workers, the rights of the workers. So we were on what I would call a convulsive and compulsive, we had embarked upon a convulsive and compulsive changes. And as we say, the only factor in life which remains constant is change. And we should go for constructive destruction. Okay? And so you could feel it, you could sense it. You know? Everybody was part of this development.
Right.
Irrespective whether we whether we stood with the then government of the day or against, but the changes were monumental.
Right.
So I grew up in that environment. And then I went to, I spent, young as I was, eager to travel, right? I was barely 18 when I traveled to Soviet Union.
Okay.
I studied for some time in Leningrad, right? You had to acquire the language, master the language,
Right.
then, with the objective of studying medicine. But then, you see, I decided to, of course, with the advice tendered by the family, because we put a lot of premium on education and especially education in Western part of the world. Then I moved to Ireland, did the equivalence of what we call A-level, high school. They call it, it's not higher school certificate, they call it higher living certificate.
You train at the Royal College of Surgeons, right?
Then, after 2 years, of what we call preparatory, got the results,
Right.
made the grade, and I was enrolled at the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland. I had a choice of either doing medicine or do law in UCD, University College of Dublin. So I studied in Dublin, right? But like all students at the time, I don't know whether I was good looking or not, but you mix with a good crowd, you hang around, you meet people, all right, and I at that time, I was also married.
You were a charmer.
Yeah.
That's why you're trying.
But it's the joy of exploring,
Right.
of taking risks at times, And I recall, I had to repeat a year because I was too forward-looking, and too maverick and the leader of the pack, And I made the most of my stay, going to discotheque and all that,
Right.
Now,
Can I just ask you just then,
Yeah.
what did your father say when you had to repeat? Because it seems like academia
but you
was
see,
a really...
I then, was married.
Oh, okay,
All right.
Different.
But it's the freedoms, right? Which I would say permissible or which should have been, or which I took advantage of, right? But of course, I had to make a choice. My mother used to write letters to me every week.
It was the airmail time.
Airmail, right? And I was taken to task. It was like a shame, right? Being brought on the family. But then I pulled my socks, rolled my sleeves, and I said, no, I have to deliver because I don't want, to be a laughing stock. All right? Then I gave the time I deserve, to my studies.
Right.
Studied, right? And made the grades, and with the blessing of God, got the exams and then when I qualified, I work in Wales, right? And then I went to New Zealand. I had a choice of either going to Canada or to New Zealand.
Right.
So I went to New Zealand, spent almost 4 years in New Zealand, and I was about to settle in New Zealand. My elder son was born in New Zealand, Then I had to come back because my mother was not too well. Unfortunately, she passed away. But that letter, that email, right? Amazing the things it did. It was more intense than reading an email because you waited for the letter, right? You know that it's going to come almost every week or if not every second week. And despite the fact that, you could also pick the phone and call home, but expensive, the call was expensive. But that letter, you cherish, and you keep reading it over and over, right? It was not only a great memento, but impregnated with meaning and messages conveyed which would put you constantly on the right track and to remind you of sacrifices made by the parents.
Of course.
Okay? And you have to live diligently and live up to expectation. But life being what it is, unfortunately, my marriage, fell apart. I have two sons, as I say, one is an accountant, one is a fashion designer. My daughter-in-law is an accountant, but I have two beautiful grandchildren. When the chips are down, right, there's nothing more than holding your grandchildren. And I have great support from my wife, and with time, things dawn on you.
Right.
And then it's a new page of history because your life is the best bookseller. You know why? Because you are the author.
True.
You do the right things. And to a large extent, without being influenced. And if mistakes are made, you can always go back, read the pages, make sure that there are lessons drawn and learned, and say what we need to do to make things better. I got into politics I stood as candidate in 1987. Got in politics in 1986. Right. I was a part-time medical practitioner in a sugar state also. Right. I had when I came back, I had my surgery, but I had a very good practice. And I recall Dr. Very well-known surgeon, I don't know whether it's fair for me to read this, name, came up to me and told me, you're doing so well as a general practitioner, and we used to have very good close collaboration, And sometimes, I was called to attend, and help as a junior doctor when he was operating, right? And as a surgeon, he was a top surgeon, and I got on well with all my colleagues working at Clinique de Lorette. And he told me, use your clinical judgment and see what is best for you. But then you see, I was spurred on to join politics, notwithstanding my father, was in politics.
Right.
But it dawned on me.
It dawned on you.
It dawned on me. I joined politics because I believe in clear-cut objectives. And I believe in the philosophy of the Labour Party. Right? And whether we agree to disagree or agree to agree, the purpose is the commitment has to be wholesome. And I'm giving my life to what I believe. And I do it with love, with joy, sometimes with some dissatisfaction. You want to kick the can down the road,
Yeah.
But you have to live up to expectation. It's not always easy. Sometimes you say, is there rational? Where is the great thinking? And where the inspiration drawn from reading books of great philosophers,
True.
Right? Why is it that, we can't do better than others as a small island developing state? But Mauritius, right, has as Mauritian, we have a threshold that we don't want to go beyond, so as not to stir trouble. You know as well as I do, a small spark, if not contained, can turn into towering inferno.
Very true.
So I always make sure that this threshold is constantly lowered.
No.
Okay, right? Because the beauty of Mauritius, right? The beauty of Mauritius is it is a world in miniature. You can, even in countries which are or allegedly cited as case of democracy, have in mind Canada and other places, UK, multiracial, but you don't enjoy the harmonious blending or the harmony which you see in Mauritius. We are unique. And this uniqueness has to be consolidated, well buttressed, okay, well harnessed. And we have to make sure that we thrive on this uniqueness, okay, as a nation, as one people, as one nation.
As per the national anthem.
Right, okay. Because we have values which others are looking for. We cherish those values and we have to send the right signals to others. The joy of living in a small island developing states which nurture the ambition to become a big oceanic small state, the boss.
Arvin, it's really beautiful the way you're explaining all, like throughout the childhood and taking us throughout your political journey.
Yeah.
I do want to take a pause and ask, like, Aristotle did say man is by nature a political animal.
Yes.
And during our pre-chat, you did ask me if I'm interested in joining politics. And I say, I certainly am interested in politics because it is the way of life. Your father obviously I presume, played a very instrumental role in your life. And it is said that you are the average of the 5 person you hang out with. To what extent did he contribute to more than the average in you taking that step into the political journey? Because going back to the same article I mentioned at the very start, your brother did say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he did say at some point he was rather maybe more convinced that you should stick to the medicine field, but then you insisted and you trusted your instinct. What was the tipping point there?
You see, when you work closely with people who are from the low socioeconomic group, and when you assess their problems, and to a large extent, many of them are genuine, they will confide in you because of trust. And this trust should not, under any circumstances, be taken for granted. You should never let go so as not, I don't want to use the word betray trust. Okay? And when you lend your ear and pay heed to sufferings, and the toll for exchange of information, assuage, help to assuage and to mitigate. And you have to convey the message that there's parity of esteem.
Right.
That my grandfather came as an immigrant. And through hard work, they all have learned to take the rung of the ladder. So what is true for one is equally true for the other. That's the relevance and importance of free education in this country. Okay? And of course, I used to act as a father, as an advisor. I usually took them to task when they would flex the muscle for a good drink,
Right.
alcohol drink. I used to tear them to pieces. Not tear them to pieces, but we used to tear them off. Or when they used to smoke cigarettes, okay? And I teased them, okay? So the element of trust was there. And they impress upon me, why don't you go into politics?
Right.
You can make it, we like you, all right? Okay? Because what I did, I leveled the playing field. But at the same time, we level up. Okay? Right? But politics being what it is, okay, It is the be-all and the end-all, but never an end-all which ends. It's a never an ending process. Okay, so that's where Aristotle is right. Okay, to point out that politics is a way of life, and you need politics to make the fundamental changes. Sometimes, of course, there are disappointments, but it's people's nature. Okay, sometimes you feel that how is it that that gentleman came to see me, or that lady, right, has turned against me. But this is politics. It's a good thing at the same time, in the sense that, okay, there cannot be a bondage.
Right.
Okay? This, you have to make the difference. True, there's allegiance, but don't take anything for granted. The person has the freedom to make up his or her mind. So you cannot say, well, I've done so much for wow. Why is it that he or she has turned against me? Where is the harm? This is human nature, okay? But you have to keep at the back of your mind that, okay, the only factor that remains constant in life is change. But I want that change to be effective and destructive change. Destructive for better construction.
Right.
Okay? Now, but you need to walk the talk and turn the talk into basic facts of life. Right? So I got into politics, okay? And I was returned except for once. Right? And when you're in politics, your life, to a large extent, belongs to the constituents. Okay, unless you're in politics, just to grab, and you don't last for long.
Right.
Okay, of course you need to. Okay, you need to make sure that you deliver on family values. Sometimes I feel sorry. The children can suffer, okay, because they miss the parents, okay, but you have to do your level best, okay, to reconcile,
Yes.
Okay, over what you've missed, okay, to make up for time lost and not spent happily with the family.
Right.
But these gaps can be filled, but Mauritius being what it is, to make things less arduous for a politician, there's a call for greater separation of powers. All right. Let me give you an example. A person in government does not like to intervene unnecessarily or to interfere. Right? But sometimes the constituent, okay, right, can be difficult, and he thinks you have absolute power. But we have to impress upon, okay, the mere mortal, right, that there is wide separation of powers.
Right.
And successive governments have not been able to do it. We are putting our level best to convey the message. Okay. For example, the introduction of the BRP has not been done with joy. Very calculated, because we're a government which is concerned, right, with the level of preparedness. Sometimes you have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Because we're looking at ways and means to safeguard the interests of those who are going to reach 65 before 2050. We have to make sure that for every person who is in a job, right, we'll be able to support the person who has retired. All right? Nothing falls from, we want manna to fall from heaven, okay? But there's no free lunch. Even trade preferences now on the way. Okay? So you have to stand up you have to tell the truth and the naked truth. We cannot thrive on fake figures, right? Because access to information is a right and not a privilege, okay? We have to tell the people that we do not print money. It has to be earned. And you need to invest, you need to export, you need managerial skills. You constantly need to revisit your level of preparedness because we have to face daunting challenges. And then sometimes daunting challenges happen, out of the blue. We have lived through COVID. We are living, and we have to face the challenges of climate changes, okay? And these, we have to adapt. If we don't adapt, we perish. Adapt or perish. But to adapt, you need to look at your level of preparedness, how to ward off those threats, how to be in the vanguard of development, how to be active, but how to be proactive. That's why we need people, we need skills, and we need to mobilize our resources. And to mobilize your resources, you have to skill and reskill your workforce,
right.
okay? Because as I say, no one owes us a living. So we have to adapt and not perish.
Arvin, speaking of the current state of the island and speaking of resources and skills and bringing all of that into the conversation, I'll be interested in maybe learning more about your take on these different policies. So maybe focusing on food industry to start with. I heard you in Parliament saying, I think you want to get to a state where Mauritius is an island, we grow what we eat and we eat what we grow. And it is interesting that if I go back to maybe 2002, more than 20 years ago, about 80,000 hectares of land under cultivation, of which I'm sure like sugarcane industry having been the major contributor. And then when I look at today, I think you can correct me on the stats, but I'd like to think about 25% of the food that we consume is produced locally.
Yes.
I would quote one of the statistics that you have mentioned before, that we are a net importer of food, about 115 billion of imports versus 80 billion of exports. What's your take on food security, on that policy of growing what we eat and eating what we grow? What do you think is the current roadblock to get there?
As a member of the African Union, we subscribe fully to the comprehensive Africa agriculture development, okay? Right. But at the same time, we are an ocean state, hence the relevance and importance of big oceanic small state. Now, and my philosophy was, and will be to produce what we eat and eat what we produce. We have an import bill, as you say, right, costing us more than 65 billion rupees. Okay? And there are choices to be made, and there are hard choices. There was a report submitted by FAO on land suitability, and the best land is located in the lower and lower Plain-Williams. Okay? But you know as well as I do, right, there were choices to be made. Now, it is unfortunate, and the matter can be debated almost endlessly, as to whether we should have considered and put up the buildings, okay, on the best agricultural land, but these buildings, right, are buildings which are being rented or taken over or constructed by those in financial services sector, in IT sector, okay, in services as a whole. What is the return on investment? If there was a time when Ramastanian used to tell me that they used to shine the torch on young students at the University of Mauritius to enlist, right, to recruit them to come and work, even before they've graduated, to come and work in the financial services sector.
Right.
Right. But my plea has always been no encroachment on prime agricultural land. And in the last budget, I stated very clearly, and it was spelled out in the budget, that for every acre of land, which of agricultural land, prime or a second, what we call second degree status agricultural land, if there is encroachment, for example, if we don't address the issue of electricity supply or energy, we are bound to have power outages, and it has to be addressed forcefully. Now, but there are people applying to construct solar panel, right, on land which is agricultural. But then you can have agri-tech solar. Again, it's a priority and choices. Production of energy is important. You cannot have development without energy.
Right.
We want the energy to be sustainable energy. L'énergie durable. Maurice, il durable. Right. Now, I feel a bit awkward. But I say, because I don't want encroachment on prime agricultural land. But then we have to move into what I call precision agriculture. Hydroponics with high tech, with computer control agriculture.
Right.
So, in as much as we have to consolidate traditional agriculture with constant breakthrough in technology, today we have established a land suitability index, right? To know exactly what is appropriate for each type of soil. What was unbelievable has now become believable. For example, in highly organic soil, which is more acidic, right? In Valletta, the private sector has invested massively in the cultivation of tea crop.
Right.
But on a large scale, with state-of-the-art technology, if I can say that, good cloning, good plantlets, and they expect, to harvest the crop in 4 or 5 years, Now, so what we are doing is that, go for appropriate suitability of land.
Right.
Make sure that we grow the appropriate crop with the support of Food Agricultural Research Extension Unit. And then research is of great relevance. And I've told our friends from Food Agricultural Research Extension Unit and from Agricultural Services, they have to deliver, because now we have established a clear-cut roadmap, and they all have to peg, and respond to the findings of this roadmap. So precision agriculture, smart agriculture, hydroponic, aeroponic, and mixed farming.
Which would be great for even our generation.
But you see, the problem is choices have to be made. For example, the previous government that I'm doing partisan politics, but they've given right, left, and center permits to pig breeders, to set up pig farm without any proper planning. And there is an impact from the waste, if not properly treated, can percolate and have a deleterious impact, a bad impact on underground water. That's why I feel a bit sorry that the word sustainability has not been given its proper meaning. And this dimension has to be fulfilled to full extent. Okay? Now, but we have also an ocean state. And we have to make sure that there is exploitation of our seabed, okay, in a very sustainable manner. And at the same time, it's the best carbon dioxide sink, the Saya de Mala. We have to grow seaweed. We have to plant cement grow. And there are lessons to be learned from the wreck of Wakashu. Thanks God, we have been spared to a large extent because it was not fully loaded with petroleum produce. It was a Cape-size, third biggest Cape-size vessel. Okay, and today we are also making topsoil. Okay, from algae, from seaweed, from algae. Okay. But you have an idea, it has to be mature for research and development and given a commercial dimension, right? Fish farming. And you'd be amazed as to the numbers fish farm, which you have in Mauritius. In Brazil, I attended a meeting in Brazil, 33% of consumption of fish comes from fish farming.
In Brazil.
In Brazil. So as Mauritian, there's a call for paradigm shift.
Yes.
We cannot forever stick to old ways and habits. Okay, we need to eat well, eat healthily, okay, and go for what I call higher roughage food.
I'm a proud Mauritian, and I mean this with good intention, but it is interesting that you raised the point, because if I were to extend the question of self-sufficiency to even the blue economy, we as Mauritius, we have the rights to fish across, I think, 2.3 million of kilometers square.
Now there's clarity, the uncertainty of our territorial integrity, okay? And then we share an extended continental shelf with Seychelles. But Seychelles is ahead of us, for example, in what we call sea cucumber production, because they have good farming, they have established good farming of sea cucumber.
Right.
Okay.
And yet, I think trying to gauge the status as an importer of fish, how do we achieve the balance where we actually become an exporter, given the rights that we have?
We export tuna, which is our wide goal. Exactly. All right. But there is a quota under the what we call Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. Right? We can do more. All right. But it's a fish which comes on the surface, and it moves from region to region. Okay, right? It's not a fish which is specifically located in specific areas. Now, we have also a fish farm in the southeastern part of the country. Okay, right? But our lagoon is not teeming with fish, right? And we have to err on side of caution, because there is depletion of our stock, largely due to overfishing. And previous government has given too many fishermen cards. So we encourage our fishers to go off lagoon, right? To go off lagoon, what we call, traditional fishermen. And then you have those who use semi-industrial fishing vessels to fish on the banks. But again, that whatever we do has to be done in a very sustainable manner. We also give them facilities like chill box to keep the fish, okay? And with fish farming, okay, inland and in the sea, okay, at Patafur, right. Okay. So things are happening. And we have to impress also upon those, right, who want to make the most of the potential of a sea, for example, to grow seaweed, okay, and seagrass, because from good seaweed, it's a nutritious food also, right? So it's not only fish, but proteinaceous food from what you call seagrass, okay? Now, what we have to do, and we have to make sure that we do it well, is to make the fish accessible. Now, you have what we call bycatch. And the bycatch is catch caught by those who are licensed, or either we have this bycatch come from non-licensed vessels and licensed vessels dock in our port, and they offload this catch because this is what we call a petty catch for the fishermen, for those working on the fishing trawlers. So this bycatch caught in our territorial waters, but is allocated or sold to cooperative fishmongers, and will be now widely available and at an affordable price. But we have to err on side of caution. As I've said, one, our lagoon is being depleted of fish stocks.
Right.
We are taking corrective measures and addressing it by encouraging fishermen to go off lagoon to use, their cannot, it's a special fishing vessel, and to encourage more fishermen to go on the banks, because you'll be laughing if I say that in these areas on the bank, fish die of old age, whereas in our lagoon there is a depletion of stock.
Yeah,
so the meaning of sustainability is to strike the right balance and to make sure that there's no overfishing, be it tuna, which is our wide goal, or lagoon fishing. But there is another issue. I'll come back to the agricultural, our agricultural status. We have an aging workforce.
We do.
And we have to import labor. Prime Minister will travel to India, and one of the issues that will be raised and flagged is importation of labor. And we have to encourage people to come and invest, because with constant breakthrough in technology, right, we have to adapt, as we say, to mitigating circumstances because of climatic changes. We have to, therefore, revisit, our program, our plan of action, but make the most of constant breakthrough in technology, right, for sustainability in every sector, agricultural, the fisheries sector, and other related sectors.
Right.
But come back to what I said. My policy is fish and chips, on the platter, affordable and accessible, but in a very sustainable manner. Today, the word you will hear of eco, right? Eco-friendly. Everything has to be eco-friendly. But then, for everything to be eco-friendly, be it NGOs, right, non-governmental organization, or governmental organization, we need to come together. I'll come back to what I said, no one owes us a living. And with the help of UNDP, right, we are doing what is called upon us to replenish our lagoon. For example, coral farming. There's a debate as whether it should be sexual or asexual, but coral farming, Because lagoon is lifeline, lifeblood, and our water, territorial water is livelihood. Lifeline, lifeblood, and livelihood.
Right.
So what is good in land has to be equally good in the water, And we have to opt and be faithful to sustainability. Okay, this is what it's all about. Unfortunately, Mauritius, in as much as I will introduce legislation on organic farming, but it's very limited to what we can do. Today, the ocean can generate waves. We are talking about wave energy. Unfortunately, we're on the cyclone belt. Otherwise, a wind farm would have been a big achievement. If it were so, we could have spared production of solar energy, inland. We could have been spared of that because our land is being used, sometimes it's prime agricultural land, for better priorities. Because you need energy. It is the powerhouse of development. Okay, so how to get your priority right? But at the same time, we have to make sure that under no circumstances, the politics of producing what you eat and eat what you produce is undermined. We have to attain self-sufficiency in production of potatoes, of onions. We used to grow a special variety of onion in the coastal area called onion tupi. And I liberalized the price because of its shelf life. It has a shelf life which is almost from here to eternity. Well, it can last more over a year.
Right.
Okay? So it's an act, well balanced, but we need to get it right. And to get it right, we have to be fully on board and we have to create what I call a Mauritius Incorporated. There's no such thing as an effortless sense of superiority. Okay? We're all human beings. We have to be humane and we have to be totally committed because the country belongs to one and all.
And lastly, on the topic of your current policies, one of your vision is to make the Port of Portly even more of a focal point in terms of trade. I think it was interesting to realize, I kind of took it for granted, but it was interesting to realize that we may not have a direct shipping route between Mauritius and India, for instance.
Yes.
And I feel like there is a lot of untapped opportunities in terms of the number of ships that transit from Mauritius, but maybe do not dock here. I think it's only a fraction of it.
Yes, you'd be surprised to learn that almost 38,000 ships ply the southeastern sea route. That is traveling almost close to our port. But in reply to a question put by the then Prime Minister, he had no choice but to disclose the truth. There had been no investment in port development since 2008. Okay? One. They promised to modernize our port. They didn't do it. And when you look at our port container index, we are way, way behind, being overtaken by all countries in the region, even by Mayotte. Now, and these have to be addressed in a forceful, meaningful manner. I'm not saying that the hardship being endured by those living in the Middle East, okay, due to constant unrest and war, right, should be to our benefit. But
we have a strategic point.
And then you have to understand also that the Sagar route, okay, of India is the Indian Ocean. Now, what we need to do, we need to make sure that as many ships as possible plying that sea route dock in our port. To do this, you have to invest in port development. Our government has earmarked 5.4 billion rupees, right, to be invested up front. Prime Minister traveling to India. I'm sure that issue will be raised flag and flag because it's of relevant importance. We, as a government, invested in the airport development. Now the next frontier of development is the port, the seaport. If you want to turn Mauritius into an ocean economy, and we are setting up a blue economic unit, right? Our priority, our top priority remains massive investment in port development. We need a strategic partner, whether it's going to be strategic partnership or funding is no problem. And we have to look at at modernization of a dry dock. We have to look at bunkering, because the multiplier effect is tremendous. Okay, bunkering, dry dock, repair of ships. Okay, port development. All the interrelated activities for research, for development, for fishing. Okay, eventually the setting up of a fishing port. Okay, and fish auction market. So the potential for value addition and development is tremendous. Blue economic unit, which we are setting up, research and development, biotech. The opportunities for biotech development. It's from here to eternity. Opportunities are knocking, and as a responsible government, this is the next frontier of development, and we are called upon to act responsibly. Either we act on our own, but with investment flowing from all from the responsible banking sectors, or we strategize and build a strong partnership with a good strategic partner.
Arvin, you in the past has served, or you've headed different ministries, foreign affairs, international trade. You've been the leader of the position at some point. When you look back at your political journey, and as we are about to wrap up this podcast, what do you think was perhaps one of the most defining chapter of your political career, and what do you think is the legacy you would like to leave behind one day?
As my Irish friends would say, it's a long, long way to Tipperary. It's a long, long way. But we have traveled miles. We have walked the talk. I've seen it all. I must be thankful to Prime Ministers who have given me opportunities. Right? I've lived up to my responsibilities. And I tell you, the moments which I've cherished most was my last leg as leader of opposition. Because then I built up a good team around me. I won't drop the name of those people.
Sure.
And I dared, and I put question of great political nature, to hit hard at government. I have the courage, the zeal, the determination. Maybe, of course, there's always room for improvement. But as we say, I've done my fair share, and I'm doing my fair share in a much better way. I have experience acquired over the years by listening, by paying heed, and by being humble. And I've made humility the soul of my major preoccupation. When I look back, yes, I have made certain mistakes, but lessons have been learned and drawn. But as I've said to one and all, my life has been and is an open book.
Your brother did say you are what you get.
Okay, right. And I walk with kings, with mere mortals, with anybody and everybody. But the joy of holding my 2 grandchildren, is a joy which is fulfilling. And I must say also thank you to my wife, who stands by me all the time, dispense sound advice. I'm a member of a great political party, and I always tell our young friends, values have to be cherished. There is no free lunch. And you don't get in politics just to walk half a mile, or just to, because, there are goodies, to be got or to be obtained. No. If you're a politician, you have to work hard. It's a noble, if I can call it a commitment, as not to say profession. It has its up and downs, but you have to live up to expectation and deliver. And I say, continue to walk with kings, with mere mortals, and always hug an animal, a pet, And I want people also to value and put premium on lives. And when I think of research and development, our life has to, we have to constantly improve, our way of living, our standard of living. And we have to respect each other. And let us build a nation which will put in every effort to wage war on a scourge called drugs. Mm-hmm. Let us save our children from this scourge. Let us act responsibly, because we live in a great little country. Indira Gandhi said Mauritius is a great little country with the potential to become an oceanic state, big oceanic state, and we have to be mighty proud, of where we are, who we are, and the blessings of being born in a great little country like Mauritius.
I love this. Arvin, what will be your parting words to Mauritians here and Mauritians living abroad watching you, especially to people of the younger generation?
We have a young generation full of zeal and who are committed. And I will appeal to them, notwithstanding the good use of this great internet, if I call what you call it,
a tablet.
Tablet, right? But make sure that we put it aside. Venture into nature and see how much contribution we can make. Mm-hmm. And I don't want our youth to be restless. That's why sometimes, when you spend too much time on the tablet, you become restless. Let nature nurtures, and nature can nurture. Let us sit together over a cup of tea, over a glass of wine, Let us exchange views. Let us appreciate each other. Let us be more humane. Mm-hmm. Because what is the point of being a human being if we're not humane? That's why I say every time I send a message, to somebody, I say, God bless. So God bless, and let us make sure that we put our best endeavor to create the wealth of a nation. Wealth of a nation based on human values. All right? So I have no lessons to give. I can only share experience acquired over the years. And I say it without fear or prejudice, We invoke all the gods, right, in a spirit of togetherness to live up, to expectation of each other. And let us constantly come together as one nation, as one people, for the sake of our great little country.
Arvin, it was such a privilege to interview you today.
The privilege is shared.
You were so warm to me on emails, and also when you gave me a call when we were discussing the podcast. I can see why you're such a people person. Thank you for the contribution to the country.
Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share with you feelings from the inner recess of my heart.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.